Imagine a place so poisonous that 5 minutes of exposure could kill you. From lakes that turn animals to stone, to beaches where simply breathing can be fatal, our planet hides spots that make Chernobyl look safe. Stick around, because number 1 is a zone so toxic that scientists predict it won't be habitable for 20,000 years. Hit subscribe and drop a comment telling us which location shocked you most. Standing on the shore of this lake for just 1 hour will give you a lethal radiation dose. Soviet nuclear waste dumped here between 1951 and 1953 made it the most contaminated body of water on Earth, with radiation levels reaching 600 roentgens per hour. That's enough to kill you in 60 minutes flat. In 1967, a drought exposed the lakebed and radioactive dust spread across 900 square miles, affecting 500,000 people. The lake has since been filled with concrete, but the damage was already done. This Accra slum processes 80% of the West's electronic waste in open-air fires. Workers, many of them children, burn circuit boards and wires to extract copper, releasing lead, mercury, and cadmium into the air at concentrations 50 times safe limits. The soil here contains lead levels 100 times higher than safe standards, about the same toxicity as pure battery acid. Researchers found that children living nearby have dramatically elevated blood lead levels, causing permanent brain damage and developmental delays that will affect them for life. Between 1930 and 1998, this city manufactured chemical weapons and dumped 300,000 tons of waste with zero safety measures. The Guinness Book of Records once named it the most chemically polluted city on Earth, with groundwater containing dioxin and phenol at 17 million times acceptable levels. Life expectancy here dropped to 42 for men and 47 for women, decades below the Russian average. In 2003 alone, death rates exceeded birth rates by 260% in this toxic wasteland. You literally cannot see the water in the world's most polluted river because it's buried under a solid carpet of trash. Over 200 textile factories dump mercury, arsenic, and lead directly into this river that 5 million people depend on for drinking water. Lead levels here measure 1,000 times the US safe standard, turning the water black and killing virtually all aquatic life. Farmers still use this toxic soup to irrigate rice paddies, meaning the contamination enters the food chain and poisons entire communities downstream. Nearly a century of unregulated lead mining turned this city into a pediatric nightmare. Children here have blood lead levels 5 to 10 times the amount that causes brain damage, with some measurements reaching 300 micrograms per deciliter, when 5 is considered dangerous. The soil throughout residential areas contains lead concentrations comparable to pure mine tailings, up to 100,000 parts per million. Even decades after mining stopped in 1994, dust storms still spread toxic particles, and vegetables grown in local gardens absorb enough lead to poison anyone who eats them. 36 uranium waste dumps containing 1.96 million cubic meters of radioactive material sit in earthquake zones along this river valley. During Soviet times, this town processed 23 tons of uranium for nuclear weapons, leaving waste piles that regularly slide into the river during landslides and floods. The Mylu-Su River feeds directly into the Fergana Valley, home to 7 million people downstream who depend on it for irrigation and drinking water. One major earthquake could send radioactive mud into Central Asia's primary water source, creating a catastrophe affecting multiple countries. This Arctic mining city releases 2 million tons of sulfur dioxide annually, more than the entire country of France. Snow here falls black, not white, and the average resident's life expectancy is 10 years below the Russian average due to constant exposure to nickel, copper, and cobalt particles. NASA satellites can see the dead zone from space, a 30-mile radius around the city where absolutely nothing grows, and the landscape looks like Mars. Workers at the nickel smelter, one of the world's largest, breathe air so thick with metal dust that the inside of their lungs turn grey. 12 open-cast chromite mines dump 70 million tons of waste into this valley, with virtually zero environmental controls. Hexavalent chromium, the cancer-causing chemical from the movie Erin Brockovich, contaminates the drinking water at levels more than double international standards. 60% of the population here suffers from diseases linked to chromium poisoning, including asthma-like conditions and gastrointestinal bleeding. The Brahmani River, which flows through the valley, carries this toxic chromium to farmland downstream, contaminating crops and turning the entire regional food supply into a slow-acting poison. The 2011 meltdown created an exclusion zone spanning 370 square miles that will remain dangerous for decades. Radiation hotspots still measure over 500 millisieverts per year, enough to cause acute radiation sickness in just weeks. Inside the plant itself, melted nuclear fuel has created molten radioactive lava, so deadly that robots sent to photograph it fail within hours as their circuits fry. Cleanup crews have filled thousands of black bags with contaminated soil, but there's nowhere safe to put them, so they sit in massive temporary storage sites waiting for a solution that may never come. America's most toxic place produced 2/3 of the plutonium for the US nuclear arsenal and left behind 56 million gallons of radioactive waste stored in aging tanks, many of which are leaking. This salt contains 60% of the nation's high-level nuclear waste, spread across 586 square miles, roughly the size of Los Angeles. Cleanup costs are estimated at $677 billion and won't be complete until 2078, if ever. Underground plumes of radioactive contamination are migrating toward the Columbia River at a rate of 3 feet per day, threatening the primary water source for millions of people in the Pacific Northwest. Here's the truly terrifying part. Scientists estimate over 400 contaminated sites worldwide pose similar threats, and most aren't even on government watch lists yet. The toxic legacy of industrialization will outlive every person watching this video by centuries. If this opened your eyes, smash that subscribe button and tell us in the comments. Would you ever visit any of these places for $1 million? Thanks for watching and stay safe out there.